I'm not going to go. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me this evening. My name is Dr. Davina Lloyd, and I'm with Sam Smethers, who's the CEO of the Fawcett Society. And Sam is someone who has been passionate about equal opportunities her whole life and has worked in various organisations that have dealt with women's rights and equal opportunities issues. So I'm going to ask Sam, first of all, just to explain about the Fawcett Society. Welcome, Sam, and could you just give our viewers a few words about the Fawcett Society and what you do there?
Thanks very much, Davina. Well, Fawcett is a campaigning charity. We've been going for over 150 years, named after Millicent Fawcett, who campaigned for the vote for women, led the suffragist campaign for the vote all those years ago in 1866. And we are a charity which campaigns for women's rights, for equal pay and financial equality for women, for equal power, and to tackle gender norms and stereotypes which hold us back, those sort of harmful attitudes that hold us back. And we're also a membership organisation, so if you want to join, you're very welcome to go to our website and become a member of Fawcett. And we really focus on tackling those structural barriers to equality, and that's where both Back to 60 and the campaign for the CEDAW inclusion in domestic legislation comes in, because one of the structural barriers is women not being able to access their rights and realise equality.
Thank you. I suppose many people will have come across the Fawcett Society in the past few years because of your work on gender pay difference and the success that you've had in trying to deal with that pay gap, in particular with notable people who've been in the media.
Yeah, so we've been campaigning for a number of years on that issue, and it obviously came to real prominence with Carrie Gracie and her fight to secure equal pay for herself, and then she donated her back pay to Fawcett so that we could set up our equal pay advice service. And then there have been other notable cases such as Samir Ahmed as well, and other cases as well against other employers, not just the BBC. So it's become a really live issue. But one of the concerns that we have is, even though we've been doing all this work and it's been increasingly high profile, we've still got a significant gender pay gap of about 18% for all women in the workplace, and it's likely to get bigger as a result of the COVID crisis. So potentially we're going backwards, not forwards. So we really do have to make every effort to speed up the pace of change on that issue, as well as many others.
Yes, I've been recommending everybody to see the film, recent film from Back to 60, about those issues, about how in particular women have been impacted by the COVID crisis and will be impacted by furloughing and job losses, etc., and possibly again when with the deal with Brexit. It does seem to be women that are most impacted in all of these areas. And I suppose that's why, as chair of the steering committee of the CEDAW People's Tribunal, I'm so passionate about getting CEDAW into domestic law. I know when I visited the Fawcett Society, and I've been to your events, I've been very impressed with the intersectionality of the people that you work with, and being able to deal with all women of all different ages. And that is certainly something that the CEDAW does address. How do you think CEDAW is going to help all women?
Well, I think you're right. We're really pleased to be able to support the People's Tribunal and the work that you're doing. And it's incredibly important to make sure that we're relevant to all women and girls. It's not just about some women and equality for some women. It's about including all women and girls in our vision for equality. And so it's really fundamental that we take an intersectional approach. And if you think about what's happened just this year with the Black Lives Matter campaign, we know that the impact of COVID on particular groups in our society, whether it be Black and minority ethnic women, disabled women as well. We've been looking at data and the impact of COVID on them. So really, we do have to make sure that we include all women and girls in our vision for equality. And the difference that CEDAW will make is really fundamental, because it's a very comprehensive treaty. It covers every aspect of women's lives. It is relevant to all women from all over the world. So it could not be more significant as a piece of legislation were it to be included into domestic law. And the reason why it's really important is because it places the emphasis on the state and the employer, the organisation, to proactively tackle those barriers, to proactively tackle the inequality that women and girls experience. It doesn't just leave it to the individual to exercise their rights. It places that emphasis and that duty on those other organisations. And then it also makes it easier for the individual to then follow through and exercise their rights. So what we have at the moment is really legislation that doesn't work, and we see that very fundamentally with equal pay, where women don't have a right to know what their male colleague earns, and so then they can't even get to the first base of challenging unequal pay. So we have to really modernise our legislation, and CEDAW would be a transformational inclusion into our equality legislation. So we're really happy to support the People's Tribunal and hope very much that it succeeds.
Thank you very much for that, Sam, and thank you for the support and such a very clear explanation of how important CEDAW is for women and girls. Thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Davina.